Hi. Yeah, so this is SIG Automation on the 28th of September, right? So I will share the agenda, or I share my desktop with the agenda. So this is the agenda that we had for today. I don't know whether anyone has any other topics or not. All right. So then maybe let's start with the, yeah, so we will not go to the Scrum today, right? Because we did it yesterday to a certain extent. So let's start with the Multus issue that people faced. So my understanding of the issue is that we are using a Multus package that actually uses an image tag like what you do in many projects, but my understanding is that the image behind actually they are moving that tag from the image, and as a result you get a different behavior depending on when you execute that package. And we have, I think, Fiacra built another built a PR to resolve this. I don't know whether I mean, or my proposal would be that we make it a hashtag, so rather than the name. But I don't know whether other people have comments on this or not, or have a different perspective.
So
Or you.
yeah,
Yeah.
just on that, yeah, figure here. I see, is Victor on the call? No.
Yes.
Yeah. So it looks like
Yes, I'm
they're
here.
using. Yeah, sorry. Oh, you're there. Sorry, it's Samsung. I think yeah, they're using a snapshot. They're using a snapshot image. And I engaged them on Slack to see when the next release is planned for. They haven't released in about 4 months. And so I've synced the YAML to the latest the manifest to deploy the tick deployment of Multus, but obviously the image is still using the snapshot. But I think Victor, you're testing with an actual the latest release version. I don't know if that's yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Basically, also my understanding the issue, the Multus community are having their CI, which are reducing the tag that it is pointing in the stable version. So, yeah, one of the things that I have is, well, maybe I can share the link.
Yeah, I'll stop sharing. Can you share?
Let me share it, but so this is the screen.
Wait, I'll stop sharing. Yeah, perfect.
Nice. So one of the things that I have pending is in the next example packages. What I am proposing is to use a script where we can run it regularly in order to upgrade certain packages like Cluster API and Set Manager and all of this. And I'm also considering like a Multus. So Multus, we're using the latest stable release, which is fine. I mean, if I run the script, basically it's getting me exactly the same daemon set definition that we have it. But the addition that I'm trying to do is in the last line. So trying to remove that particular tag that we have. So instead of using the snapshot tick, which is the current one that we are using, I'm trying to replace it with the Multus version. So in this case, for example, it's pointing to the
okay.
So I guess it's the feedback that you receive, Priasha. So from the community that you can modify. I mean, the intent of having this is not like using as it is. I guess that what they were trying to say is we just provide this as a template, like this demonstrate as a template, but maybe we can adjust to run it.
Yeah. I think I just commented, it was late last night. I only got one response, but essentially I was told that the daemon set is an example. it's just a sample of how to deploy Multus. And you can do whatever you want with it. But yeah, I was just saying that we're using it as our local deploy, and we would like to pin an image version against the latest against what we're using in the package. So I guess if for me, if we can upgrade the actual daemon set, the YAML, the manifest, and then as soon as we have a latest version released, we can pin the image, or either or, whatever works. But I think for now, I think I'm still using the snapshot image, but I've updated the YAML file, and it seems to be stable.
But the snapshot image, Fiacra, my view is that if it changes, we have the problem again, right? So we should do something. We should use a tag that doesn't change, that they are not, that doesn't change the underlying image.
In that case, the last release was 4 months ago, and I guess you would probably have to match the manifest to when that image was released. So I don't know how difficult that would be, but yeah, that's
one of the things that I noticed is at least the image, the release image is not changing too much. I mean, you see like the snapshot tick is the only thing that we are like modifying, but the other ones like the stable one, it seems to be not touched by the community.
Yeah, correct. So, and I think, okay, we can then use, if there is a new version available, we can use it to upgrade, right? But it's better to use the published one than the one that we are using right now, because we have too much, if there is too much change going on, then we are impacted, right? So we need to take something that is, that is stable and that's sufficient for what we need to do.
I think that if we use this one, it is going to work. Like,
that's also my view. Yeah, that's also my view. So that I think we should. My proposal is to take that stable version and then
like
update
one,
the
right?
manifest. Yes, correct. Yeah, and update the manifest accordingly. Yeah, fish you. Yeah, sorry. And have a stable version.
And just. Oh, Bish, go ahead.
Go ahead. No, I mean, earlier than this conversation, I think you mentioned there's a PR out there that Fiacra has actually created.
Yes.
What?
Oh, okay. Is that which repo is that in?
Same, yeah, says same as a pull request there, but it only updates the manifest and is still using the snapshot image. So there's minor changes here. There's added cluster roles, kind of changes to mainly, and then changes to the volume mounts and stuff like that. It's minor, but it's using the snapshot image. But I guess Victor, we could probably I can abandon this and we can go with your change, Victor, if people agree. Yep.
The other thing that I want to highlight is at least in the sandbox. So we are using the packages which are tagged, the natural packages are tagged with the stable version. So even if we change something, like eventually we're going to still point into the stable packages, which are pointing to not all the changes that we are doing in the Nephew example packages. I don't know if I explained correctly. So my point is eventually, and that's another PR that I have here, like in the test infra. So yeah, this one in particular. So what I'm trying to do is I try to modify the source code to consume another version of the package, like main, or like even eventually we can start using our own branches and make it more flexible, because the current way is just using the stable ones.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I'm open for that. Yeah, seems like
I think yesterday Stephen was mentioning that we can put it in our image repository, whatever image we want, then start using that. Is that an option?
That's another approach, but I think Bala here, it is just we took a label without really fully understanding what we are using. So in this case, is it not better that we use the public stable image that they have, and that we ensure that ensure that it doesn't change? So whereas today we have a label that, or a tag that basically is going to change regularly. So
Yeah,
that's
I
the
think
underlying issue.
I think using a pinned public version rather than taking ownership of the image, I think would be preferable for me. Yeah.
So I think in general, for even other dependencies that we have for the Nephio solution, other than Multus, even Cappy and other stuff, we probably, for each release, we probably need to have some sort of a matrix, that
Yes.
we are all aware of.
Yeah, yeah.
That way, we just don't run into these issues. So something
Yeah,
Bana
correct.
and Steve.
Yes, because here is like all of a sudden people start to complain and everybody start to complain. So it was either when we troubleshoot, we didn't know what was really happening, but then we pinned it towards this thing. So it means that okay, in our release process we have to add something,
Correct.
but let's discuss that maybe in the release meeting. But I wanted to, there's a bit of urgency because there are so many people complaining that I said, okay, we have to act rather quickly about it. And that's why we are discussing it here, I think. But
cool.
Yeah.
No, just making it a point that we need to actually have because what we did in R1, we had to rush through a bunch of things, but now we probably need to be more deliberate and making sure that, our dependencies, we know what can break us, so that we anticipate and we plan for it better.
Yeah.
So for me, there are two things. I mean, definitely we have to fix the Motus package, whatever that we decided. And the other thing is like, because the sandbox or the CI, the test infra CI is just using this release from the Nephio examples.
Yeah.
So that means that we have to also consider like to fixing the CI to start like pointing. I think we have a couple of commits.
Yeah. So Victor, there is two things we can do probably, right? Because you're right. Is that today? So step number one is we have to create a new version of our Multus package, right? That has a pinned version basically. So that's number one. That means that package will move to another, let's say, version. And then the question is, do we create a V102 or do we, let's say, what we can also do is, because we can potentially relabel the tag of 1.01 to the Multus version 2, or should we not do that? So that's maybe a bit of a hack. Or do then, and I discuss what you say, Victor, but that's for me more of a fundamental change on how we do the packaging, that we discussed your approach in the SIG release meeting on Monday next week to come up with a strategy, how we deal with these things going forward. What I'm trying to get to is I want to have like a quick fix such that or at least that would something, unless people disagree with me, is a quick fix that people who start to try the current thing can continue, right? ASAP, and then we will have to discuss a proper strategy around all of this in the SIG release meeting on Monday. Does it make sense?
Definitely makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And do we agree to relabel the IV101 label onto that new Multus package?
I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that since I'm okay with it only because we are so early in the cycle. If we are 10 releases out, I would have been scared. But
it's not a good practice, but so it's a shortcoming that we are trying to overcome a little bit.
Yes, I'm okay with that for two reasons. One is we're very early in the cycle. The two is it's broken anyway. So I think because of those two reasons, I'm okay with that approach.
Yeah, Fiacra?
Just a very quick one, coming from another project that's in an awful mess in relation to having a global release version for all of your sub packages. Is there a strategy for having a more flexible?
Yeah.
What would you like? So Victor pointed out that everything there is tagged V101, but if we want to use a sub package Multus V2. That means tagging or retagging the top level repo, right? the
Yeah,
top
so
level.
that's basically, I think that's what my understanding is, that what Victor is proposing as a strategy to make that more flexible, right? So my proposal is Fiacre to discuss that in the SIG release meeting, or starting
Got it.
to discuss.
Yeah, sure.
Is that okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's for the sandbox project. Like you're consuming or you're using the Ansible playbooks of the sandbox. Yeah, there are many ways to get. So you can, but the default behavior is going to change a little bit. So obviously you can modify the default values and point to your own repos and versions and everything. Maybe I can explain later in another session how to do all these things to customize the sandbox.
Maybe I think Steven is also on the call here, I think, right? Are you okay, Steven, that we take a slot on Monday to flush this out?
Yeah, no problem.
Is that okay,
Right.
Victor? If you can
Yeah,
prepare
sure.
that?
Yeah, if
Sure,
you can
sure.
put that on the agenda, that would be nice.
Okay.
All right. So, but short term, so Victor and Fiacre, is it okay that are you going to then create a package and then relabel or remap the label to 101 from 101 to that new Multus package? Is it are you okay to do that? Let's say ASAP.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. All right. Perfect. Really appreciate.
It's basically, I mean, just to understand the work, I'll create a ticket for that. So basically, this is basically repackaging the Multus for the 1.0.1 release, essentially.
Yeah, so we create I think today the package of Multus is V1, so we will create a V2 package, right? Which has this pinned or released version. And then we have to move the 101 label to that new package such that we are consuming that for the sandboxing and our test frameworks for people to try it so that with that, I think they will be unblocked. And then in SIG release, we have to discuss a better, I think there is two things we need to discuss is how do we avoid using these images that move around, right? So that's one. And then second is how can we come up with a strategy that doesn't use one big label, but has more flexibility in that, which is what Victor is going to address.
Yeah, cool. Let's do that in the SIG release meeting. Thank you. Yeah.
All right. All right. The second topic is the wiki, I think. So where can I find the wiki again? Steven, do you know the link, or can someone share the? So this is so the next topic was basically
The summit wiki.
Yes. Where is that?
Okay. Let me give it to you.
Okay, perfect. So I explicitly called out, I mean, we should have discussed it yesterday, but given the overlap meeting and not everybody was there is a slot with content, and I think I wanted to clarify who's doing what. And because, yeah, we have not so much time. And
again, John is not here.
Yeah, I know he's not here, but okay, I mean, I think we can propose something and then, okay, maybe there are some actions to John so we can check with him, right, whether he's okay. But at least we have a proposal because right now there is a bunch of topics, but I think it's unclear who
Why don't we assign everything to John and say this is a proposal?
Yes, that's of course an option.
I actually talked to him on Tuesday on one of the topics, and then because one of the things we talked about is whether or not we want to get the workshops to become more of a concept plus what's next. And I mean, I can't speak for him because I actually talked to him, so he loves the idea. Obviously, the more time you talk about PBS and stuff, the happier he becomes anyway. So here's the link.
Okay, perfect. I'll share it. All right, you see this? And then we have, I think in particular, it is this slot, right? Yeah, this is the slot I think I was referring to. Because you see in the other things, we have like person with topic, right? So, and then it's, we made it clear. So, but here we have topics and we have a bunch of people. And I think we probably need to do something like this, right? Or at least that's how I was thinking. So, yeah. First of all, I think is this list is okay, or are we? So that's the live workshop. So I think one of the discussion here is also, which we had a little bit, is do we do a live setup or do we do more like a guided session to explain the concept and stuff like that? I don't know the current people that are, let's say, registered, but the list that I saw, there was a lot of people that are, that I believe have tried and have consumed it already. So I was of the I was personally a bit of the opinion that it's better to explain these topics and go into more depth with potentially a demo for the people doing it. But of course, we have to look at the timing, whether that's feasible or not. But yeah, so that's basically one of the topics, and then who is doing what. Yeah, Fish, you raise your hand.
Yeah, I wanted to say that I've installed Nephew multiple times, but I still do have some questions, like the question that I asked today, for example, when it comes to like package revisions or package variant sets and all, those are all things. I mean, just because we've been working on Nephew doesn't make us experts, is what I feel. There will probably be questions around there if we can definitely have sessions around those. Even things like, for example, how does a secret get copied? That was my question basically on that, trying to figure out how is the initial packages without getting approved. So these are all topics, if that gets discussed and made videos of it, it will definitely be useful, is my opinion. Speaking from experience of actually having installed multiple times, but not having had a chance to go into that kind of a depth. So.
Right. But so I think, yeah, so for me it was, yeah. But then is this list complete? Because the question you explicitly asked Fish today, which was on the auto approval, I think, we are not explicitly covering here in that list, right?
I'm hoping that this topic, if
of course,
can be expanded to include those kind of a flow. Yeah.
Yeah, we also have this submit questions, so this is also
Okay.
an opportunity to, I haven't clicked on it, but it would be good, I mean, if you have these type of questions, right? Because it's going to be hard to take each of those into the equation, so but that we could have some questions here already ahead of time, so that if we then prepare it, we can potentially either discuss it or yeah, prepare for it in the presentations.
Okay.
Right.
I didn't see a topic on specialization. Probably that's useful. Package specialized, particularly workloads or,
Yes, what happened, I think, is here. So the SDK is addressed here, right? So I was planning to, so what is in release 2 and beyond, which is a little bit so that's what we discussed so far, but we can also put it here, right? Because it's not really.
Yeah, initially choreography was there in the live workshop.
So we can edit. Yeah. Wait, so I don't edit. Wait. So let me copy this.
Actually, I remember we had put even more items when we did that with Tal, when we were.
But so
yeah, so the items are listed on amazingly the 6.3 agenda doc. That one meetings where we talked about it. I was
in your
acting as secretary and wrote all that on the list. So I think Tao is the one who took that and put it in here on a much nicer looking format.
Wait, where? Yeah, so I think Tal updated the list.
Right there.
Yeah, but this is the list. Yeah, we can still refer to the list, but
yeah.
I would say let's work on the wiki. Let's have one source of truth here. The wiki is editable. It's still, nothing is set in stone. We just have to put something there. And honestly, I made the list here in the wiki. Just based on our feedback, I try to put it together, but please don't treat it as definitive, right? This is a work in progress that we're building.
Right. Okay. Now I can edit it. Where do I edit it? Here.
You have
edit.
you have to click on the edit button before editing.
Okay. So, but first of all, I think, do we agree that we should do it more, not really an install, but really go through the topics and then have people go for it, and we can add items here, right? Is that okay?
Well, we could do a combination, right?
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't raise my hand. Or go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead, finish your thoughts.
So for me, we have some of the infrastructure already, right? Once you install Nefio, which means when we actually go off and install the management cluster, there's a bunch of checkpoints that we can talk about and say, look, these are all the things that has happened. And then you have like end-to-end test, you have like a 001.sh that you can execute. And then you're able to show a bunch of artifacts to explain, see, this is what has happened. That flow can be explained is what I'm thinking by installing and also talking through it. It is a possibility. And that will probably help a bunch of us, who just know things on the surface to probably go a little more deeper and help understand is what I think.
Yeah. Now, my only concern of Vish is time. Okay.
Oh, yeah, I agree with that. I think it's going to, yeah, we're going to overrun. Yes. I understand.
So Wim's point is correct. So it's probably more important for us to talk about the topic and what's next on the topic rather than just hands-on, which is probably no longer the intent of this session.
Because you see here we have 45, we have 95 minutes. So let's say we get 15 minutes per topic. Let's do the quick math. 15 times how many? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is so that's around.
We still need to. No, it's not just 5, right? We are talking about choreography. We want to add that.
Yeah. So okay, and then the list is not complete yet. So what do we need? Choreography.
So what I would
think.
In
so
my
here's
view,
a quick suggestion is that for day 2, we have if you scroll down, we have the deep dive topics. Still a work in progress, and actually I only put myself there for now, but we could potentially use that. We have some time to do a deep dive into a specific thing as a presentation. So these are presentations, not workshop, right? Not live. So I absolutely think something like choreography could work there, because there's not a lot to show necessarily. I mean, you can include a demo as well, right? So yeah, I would say let's not put too much, let's not overload the workshop. Let's try to move things maybe elsewhere, because I agree with Wim, there's just too much stuff here. Also consider it's going to be very interactive. It's not so much as a presentation, so expect a lot of interruptions and questions. It's going to be hard to get through everything.
Yes. Okay, Bala?
Yeah, in my view, I'm not in favor of what we did in Seattle.
The ONE Summit?
ONE Summit. So here in this particular case, there are two, I mean, looking at the audience and also different maturity levels of audience, etc. This, instead of live workshop, I would rather call it kind of a deep dive R1. The second day and all is going to be R2 related. So if we can explain end-to-end flow with explaining all these concepts needs to be understood for the end-to-end flow. For example, how we are gonna create the concept of Porsche, concept of PVS, PRRs, all those things, and how one starts with that, how one creates a packages, how it gets consumed by Porsche, and then how it's gonna be used by the specialization choreography in terms, and then it get fans out, how the metamorphosis of the package happens in the Git repos, and how it's gonna consumed by our config sync, and then obviously through the free 5GC operator, how it's realized if you can tell that whole end-to-end story, we'll stitch it, explaining these concepts, and then for each concept, and then show them live how it's gonna materialize in a real world. Not like a end demo, but step-by-step demo for when we explain these concepts. I think that would be a great education for the whole audience, I believe. And then we can say, if you want to do it yourself, obviously we can point to our repos. We have multiple installation recipes, one for the sandbox and one we're going to create for OpenShift. And there are multiple others. And then any of these things, somebody can go and do it on their own. I think that would consume the time that we have here. I think, in my view, that would be a great education for the people who are involved, and also for if there are any new people as well. I think that's a good use of time.
Yeah, so what you're proposing, Bala, is this, or let me rephrase a little bit. I think what you said is, and that may be one option on how to do this, right? So is, for example, rather than explaining each of these things individually, is go through, and I think it would be really useful to do, I think, is that we take, see, there is two ways we use package variant. There is two examples that we use this right now. One is we create clusters at the moment, right? So what I think what you're saying, Bala, is, okay, we create a cluster, right? And by doing that, how are we using these constructs to achieve and let's say installing a cluster? And the same we can do, like taking these constructs to achieve installing a network function, right?
Yeah.
I think that's what you're saying. And then you can, we can split that into potentially, like say how we did the three, with the three subgroups. Well,
yes.
So we had, first step is basically we use package variants, package revisions, and we are using that recursively and blah, 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 blah. But we explain that in a rather detailed way with some examples, right? So that you can go through, okay, this happens, this happens, this happens, and you could go through a Git repo, which you have hydrated, and you can actually show why each of these things matter and stuff like that. So you go through the packages and so on and so forth, until the point that you basically get a package there that needs to be, in the case of the workload cluster, we don't do any specialization, right? So it's basically
the operator.
And we could, one way to say, okay, for the free 5GC, that we take a subset, okay, how we do the specialization, and then a third bucket is what happens on the workload cluster to actually get this installed, right? And you go through the CRDs and stuff like that. So you basically, in this case, it would be, or the proposal would be to do 3 subsections, right? So where you basically divide, therefore probably specialization and workload needs less time, because I think a lot of the, let's say, complexity or a lot of the concepts are coming from the package variant, package revisions to actually, accommodate that, right? So in other words, the proposal would be then that we say, I go through these phases in depth using these 3 sub phases. I don't know. Yeah, sorry, I'm rattling.
Yes, I think you said it better than I did. Yeah, the idea is to tell a story, and then how the concepts are used, how the Nephew principles are being used. I mean, to me, those are more important than even to make a end-to-end call, because we are telling, I mean, anybody can install in different ways to the free 5GC. We are telling, this is how we are doing differently. This is how these concepts are used. This is how concepts are stitched. This is the end-to-end story. I think that would be that's
like
my
what, so or maybe I could call it, I'm just putting, but I'm just going to type, but Ravi, please go ahead in the meantime.
Oh yeah, I mean, just to this point, it would also be good to kind of state the problem in terms of status quo, because how the things are handled using, I mean, there is kind of how things are handled with Helm packages, or one of the things with specialization, what we do is to handle this fan out scenario. Take one this blueprint package and kind of fan it out to kind of n number of sites that match a specific requirement. So if there is saying that, okay, this is how it's done today this can be done using all these kind of filters or semantics or targeting mechanisms and so on, I think that will get the message across too. So that was one point. The other thing is I had question on this pre-submit questions. Is this pre-submit questions for the organizers, or is this primarily for the audience?
I'm not sure. I would expect it for the audience, but Tal, you go. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. So this was added again by Kandan's request. So it worked pretty well in the previous summits. The idea is for the presenters and the moderators. So the idea is that during, it can actually help. It could be helpful for us because we can see what questions people are sending in and we can plan accordingly. So the idea is really to help the moderators and presenters know what the audience is interested in.
Okay, so it's for the audience who's going.
Yeah, it doesn't replace live Q&A. Like we need to schedule time for Q&A. Well, I think for most of the sessions, Q&A would be after the presentation, but because this is a workshop, I imagine something much more interactive, right? People can ask questions along the way, etc.
So
can I
questions. So, yeah.
Can I just jump in there? I think if we don't structure it somewhat, the allowing questions along the way, I don't know if we should do that, because otherwise it'll just end up that the topic won't get covered. I think we probably need to have a certain time at the beginning for each session where the person presents, and then the questions are taken at the end.
So I'm sorry I have to jump in here. I discussed this at length with Kandan, and he really insists that this is not a presentation, that we need a workshop. From his perspective, people are expecting something hands-on. The original title of this was Hands-On Workshop. I kind of, and myself and John isn't here, I think, but we kind of pushed back against that and said, exactly what Bala says, if people bring their own laptops and do everything, we won't have time for, I mean, it takes just 1 hour to set up everybody's laptop, right? So we removed hands-on and changed it to live, the idea that the presenters will be doing the live work rather than the audience. But if we remove that entirely and just make it, just a presentation, I think Kandan...
And I didn't. I just think at the beginning of the session we probably it's not removing it entirely, Tal. I just saying at the beginning there should be some front loading. Otherwise, there's a danger that we just won't get through them, in my opinion.
I agree entirely. I think this list is way too long right now. I wouldn't treat it as like separate presentations. Maybe it's kind of a list of things that we will cover, maybe. But I don't know if it all has to be here. This might be a little bit too detailed for the agenda. This could be our internal notes. As how to do it. But I think what we should do here is summarize, instead of bullet points, summarize what we're trying to achieve in this workshop, so people coming will know what they will learn. Like say something like, we will go over all the process of specialization and deployment and Nefio R1 in depth, something like that.
I mean, if ideally we could take a day over this, and it would have been a third sort of developer focused day on the whole other thing. I know that's not possible, but that would have been.
Yeah, but so I think also, Tal, we need to somehow, I do agree, is I maybe outline what the goal is, right? So maybe we should basically split the goal, but on the other hand, what we should also do is to the people preparing, because if we keep it open, like you said, I would propose to that someone prepares this topic somehow, right? Because otherwise we will not have. So that's a little.
Yeah, so I think what we can do is say the goal, and we will cover these points, right? But it's not necessarily individual presentations of each. It's more, I forget who said it earlier, but yeah, we'll go through the entire flow, and just obviously along the way, the flow includes all these subtopics, right? Some of them will go into more depth, some will go into less depth, according to how we how much time we have and what we prioritize. Yeah.
So Tal, regarding the topic of providing VMs, I would like to really explore like the code spaces. I know that I have tried before, but I think that could be useful for this particular case. So, but my only limitation that I have right now is I need to limit access to the repository and maybe do some experiments. So if someone can help me with that, maybe I can just give a try, and that can be useful for us. Definitely we can provide that option for this workshop. Like I mean, not trying to provision the VMs, it's just like a self provisioning. That's about the workshop. And the other thing that I just want also to mention, don't forget that this is an FIA summit. So obviously all the topics have to be around that particular thing. The reason that I mentioned that is because I'm noticing that you have some topics like Borg, KPT, and config. Those are great just to clarify, but just as a
yeah,
additional tool.
So Wim, I think you're getting a little bit too detailed here for the agenda, in my opinion. I want to suggest this. Let's start a slide deck and put the slides and think per slide how much time we would have, and maybe then go back to this agenda and edit it.
Okay, so we take a slide. Do we do it now or?
Well, we have 15 more minutes to the meeting.
I think it's important because the reason why I think it's important is because we have basically next week to prepare it, and that's it, right?
Exactly. Yeah, I know. Okay, what I will do right now is create a slide deck in our Google Drive and share the link on Slack. And maybe we can, after this meeting, people start. Basically, I'll create a slide for each one of these topics that we have. And let's just start filling in content and see, you know,
who does what. Yeah. Okay.
Let it evolve into a final narrative.
Oh, okay. Makes sense. Yeah.
Oh, just a quick clarification or question to Victor. Victor, are you saying that we don't need to delve deep into package management, config sync, and Porch? Or because that is the engine of at this point of time, if Nafio is the same thing. If you don't understand that, it's going to be very hard to understand how Nafio consumes that, how the Nafio solution consumes this. That is my thinking.
Yeah, probably what I was thinking is like maybe is valid to mention like those technologies and a little bit of like a quick glance of how that works, but not get deep on the technology. I mean, maybe just try to spend more time in things that are created on top of those technologies in order to give more clarification, like for example, the iteration process or things like that. I mean, that's for me, I guess, more valuable because eventually you can find like more information and talks about KPT and their ecosystem. I mean, it's not too bad to mention, but it's better to spend more time the surrounding things that we haven't done.
Better to spend more time on? Sorry, I didn't hear the last part.
Oh, no, what I was saying is like just try to spend more time in the rest of the things, like in the things that we have been creating the last year. I think it's more important to just clarify that, like spend more or focus more in those things.
Victor, are you saying more focus on how we use it, how we consume it, rather than just explaining what KPT is?
Yeah, exactly. Like the operators, like all the specializers that we have created, like all these things that we have created that are not part of KPT or extra of KPT. I think it's much better.
Yeah, so I think also my view is go more into we are consuming them in a certain way, right? And we have done extensions around it. So rather than explaining KPT and stuff like that, we should I think it's also more beneficial to actually go like what Bala was trying to say is we have used it in a certain way with certain primitives and stuff like that. Explain that, right? And then hopefully by the person that explains will also give you a little bit of context on how these things come about. And by that, making it hopefully covers a little bit of both aspects of it. So it's where you cover, okay, what is KPT a little bit, but we are using it here. We created these extra these extra functions because of these reasons. And this is how we did it, right?
Exactly, because KPT now is part of the sandbox. So I'm expecting that in the next KubeCon are going to be more talks and sessions about KPT.
Yes. So rather than just focusing on KPT, we focus on how we consume KPT and Nephew and so on and so forth. Using the demo or using the R1, I think, yeah. Okay, cool. Yeah. You agreed? Perfect. Okay, so Tal, then you will do the scaffolding of the
yeah, I already did it. So there are slides for each of these topics.
Yeah.
And
and
yeah,
then we
it's
comment
world
about it.
editable.
Yeah, we comment about it, and then we have to assign, I think, names of the sections probably, right? So that we
Correct. Yeah.
prepare it. Yeah. Okay. Sounds good.
And I want to make an interesting suggestion, maybe. So it's pretty obvious that we can fall back on our community experts, right? You know, Wim, you could probably talk a lot about Captain confixing. I think it might be interesting to let people who have not been super involved in managing everything speak here, just to hear other voices as well.
Agree.
It's a good exercise too for somebody. So for example, Vish, you said that, you know, there are things that you're not entirely settled. Like, let's say you take the package variant topic to present, then you would do the homework to actually learn it and explain it to somebody who doesn't know because you just learned it yourself, right? So I'm just throwing you as an example, right? So
no, good idea.
Yeah, yeah, that's my point.
Yeah,
so let's maybe not think about the people first. Let's try to create the complete narrative and think about how much time, you know, each topic will take. And if we have that content, then we can start assigning people.
Yeah. And I think to your point, Tal, I mean, the people that are typically most vocal should not promote themselves, but we should only be, let's say, nominated if there's nobody else assigned. So we are looking for volunteers.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah, we just want to get it through too. So yeah, we're not going to force anybody.
No, for sure.
I mean, honestly, like Wim, John, Steven, myself, I think too, we can do the whole workshop, right? One person can present everything, but we want to, we want to really showcase the community here as well through the whole conference, right? Not just in this workshop.
Yeah. So we welcome.
And yeah.
Anyone.
So when do you think we should volunteer? I mean, do you have an entire list, or I mean, is there a deadline? Or
So my proposal would be that by tomorrow we should at least have, or at least that would be my proposal, is please let us all focus on this quite a bit, because at least we have one more week to prepare, right? So it is not a lot of time. So my proposal would be latest tomorrow that we have, that we are settled on. First, of course, let's today focus on the content, and then tomorrow on the names potentially, right? So my point is, end of close of business tomorrow we should have all of this clarified, names and content. Does it make sense?
At least a draft.
Yeah, but it should be a rather stable draft, right? But at all, right? Because if we continue to change, we will not. Yeah.
Agreed.
All right, good. So then next topic. So I will remove this. Okay, we have okay, 8 minutes. I don't know, do we have enough time to start here? But yeah, let's maybe kick off the discussion. So yeah, Joseph, maybe do you have so I think Tal, you were not there, but for people to so what this topic was about is that so we have refactored the NF, or we are refactoring the NF deployment, the NF deployment CRD, as we discussed, with this config ref, which moved now to parameter ref. Now, the other topic that we discussed yesterday briefly is that we have this concept of what we call the RAN CRD, right? Which I think Joseph is working on. With that, so what we, I think, briefly discovered, or what was mentioned, I think Ravi made the point as well. Some of these parameters have needs to be used not only in the radio, but also in the core. And so yesterday we touched upon this topic to say, okay, let's have a bit of a more in-depth discussion to see how we handle that, right? And how we structure the CRDs to accommodate that. And then how do we ensure that these parameters are reflected into the various packages and stuff like that. So that's basically the topic. So I'm probably sure that we will not finish this, but we should start potential discussion unless, so maybe, Joseph.
Yeah, sure. I think we can just start there. So I had some basic questions on the NF deploy. I think I had put some queries on the comments on the pull request, right? I think that maybe some clarification there, because based on that, I'm thinking how the CRD for the RAN CRD.
There is a PR. Yeah, go ahead, Joseph. I'm just getting the PR.
So the parameter ref, which is newly, it was existing earlier but newly added or changed the name. So in that, the kind would actually be, you were saying that it would be the vendor specific kind. Is that what you were referring to? Because I was thinking it would be the config, which is like a generic outer container where we can embed our configuration. So that is what my thinking was. Yeah.
See, I don't know whether I clarified it in the presentation. Let me see, where did I do it? NF deploy, where did we discuss it? In the agenda, I think. Here, I think it's here in this presentation. So let's go through it, right? So I'm not, wait. What is this? What is, okay. My screen is too big. So this is, okay, this is moved now to parameter ref, right? So, but here you see an example. Okay, so config is one use of it, right? So this is one usage of it, but for example, okay, namespace we removed, right? So this is no longer possible, right? So, but this could, so in other words, what I was trying to say, this reference, this is now parameter ref, right? So this reference could point to the type of, or the kind can be anything, right? So it could be, for example, if you look at the 3GPP, so this could be, on one hand, let's say, this could be, if I take Nokia.com, for example, right? So Nokia.com, this could be, let's say, kind UPF or something, and it could be foo, right? But it could be also, it could be, for example, let's say 3gpp.com. I'm just making something up. Let's say PLMN ID, right? And then foo, or right? So this could PLMN and foo. So it can be, this is very flexible, right? It can be anything.
Right. So So then you need to have these CRDs also getting installed in the workload clusters, right? For whichever
Yes.
vendor extensions or 3GPP, we need to create CRDs and probably include it as part of the package, or
Yes, correct. So
would be
this, they should be most likely in the package, right? Now we have two ways so to consume them. One way is that during specialization, we do something with it, right? So that's one option. Or we do it in the workload cluster. So that's a choice that we have. And okay, we have to look at, I think, the use case to see what makes most sense, right?
Okay. So I was thinking the other way. I mean, where we can reuse the config kind itself, where we can embed whatever vendor configurations that we need into the system.
Yeah.
And if it is, for example, a 3GPP package, we can actually include it in the dependency.yaml. I'm just giving an example that you can create a config package basically outside of the
Yes, that's also possible. Yeah, that's also an
config
option.
package where you configurations, and then you just the need. I mean, when you need it or whichever package needs it uses a dependency.yaml. I need this configuration, and you just and the existing process would take care of itself. I think of injecting parameter ref.
So Joseph, would it be possible to describe that a little bit? Because I think for me, I think the reason of this conversation is more a little bit right. Let's say there is a bunch of parameters that we need in various places, right?
Right.
Is that would it be okay for you to propose some? Because I think for a lot of people, it might not be 100% clear what we are discussing.
Yeah, sure. I'll put it in a set of slides and
set of slides or a document or whatever, and then we say, okay, here is how we propose to use it, and then that other people can comment upon it and reflect upon their thoughts, right?
Yeah, sure, I'll do that.
Yeah, but what you say is an option. I just wanted to clarify that it can be also like this, right? So I'm not saying that this is the way to do it, but it's flexible to whatever you want to achieve, in other words. But what you say is that referring to a package that we get and that we then insert is also definitely an option. Yeah.
Right, but one existing thing I wanted to clarify is that if you have multiple dependencies, then if you put it here, right, parameter refs or config refs get injected here. But when you try to get the config inside the controller, you might not know what structure you need to use because you don't have the kind for it, because there'll be multiple config refs, right? So I mean, that's why I was mentioning that I need the kind embedded inside the config also mentioned here.
Yes. No, it's definitely an option. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. But so my theory is the following, Joseph, at the moment, or my assumption is the following, right? The receiver at the end should know what he is expecting. So he should have a clarification on things that he expects, right? And it might be that things are not there, that he doesn't get it. Okay, in this case, he has to deal with it, or that he gets it. And it could even be possible if there is a mistake, right? That there is something, a kind coming down that he is not expecting. He should not probably, let's say, panic, but he should log to say, hey, something came that I was not expecting. So this, there's something that didn't work out, right? So you have to build in such a logic to deal with this, right?
Right.
But my expectation is that the amount of kinds that he gets for the ones that he wants to act, he should, I know them.
Right, he should know that. And if that in the incoming the config, but if he doesn't know what kind it is, if he is handling more than one kind, for example, right now only SMF is having dependency on UPF, so only one dependency is there. But if it also depends on AMF, for example, so there would be two config coming into the controller. So which one points to AMF, which one points to UPF is not very clear unless you actually read through it, the kind internal kind, and then map it back. That's what I was trying to.
Yeah, and if you use the config ref, you have to do an indirection, right? Because you kind of, the config is kind of a metadata CR that allows you to embed something, right? So that means that you have to have some logic to know, to understand what was embedded.
Right. So if there's a pointer outside, basically information outside, then he could use the embedded one. So this config is for UPF, and this config is for AMF, and then map it to that corresponding structures. Yeah, maybe I will put it in a slide, and then probably we can discuss in the.
And let's discuss it then next week. Put it on the agenda. And
sure.
either it will be probably Wednesday or Thursday. I'm expecting, because probably Wednesday we do this. We go through the list, right? And then depending on how much time we have either time for it. But let's put it on the agenda for next Wednesday for sure, and then we can hopefully have time to go through it.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
All right.
I think that's it.
That's it for now, right? Yeah. All right. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.